Welcome to the video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at these things here. These are Headplay all-in-one FPV goggles. Now I need to say a very big thank you to gearbest.com for supplying these. I'll put a link down in the description if you want to take a look. What we'll do in this video is first of all give a very brief overview of the features of these things, show the extras that come in the box with it. We'll show you what the field of view looks like. I've been out flying with these with some FPV gear and I kind of give you my thoughts at the end. So the first thing we'll do then is run through the specs of this thing. This is one of the latest generation of this style of very large clamshell styly FPV goggle where the FPV receiver is installed also at the top. So here we have a HDMI import. This is a 40 channel receiver, so it'll also support race band. It has an antenna jack at the top, so you can plug in your kind of standard Fat Shark aerials and others. Then we have all of the controls on the side for selecting the source, so the HDMI, AV1 and AV2, moving around the menu, the volume controls and your menu button too. On the top, the only connections apart from your HDMI port, which is in here, and your antenna, is this cable that runs around the back, and that's the one that provides the power. Now this cable is interchangeable, so depending on how you want to use these goggles depends on which cable you plug in, and we'll look at those in a second, because you can also run this stuff externally using another AV receiver if you don't want to use the external one. Couple of specs about these things just to explain what there is under all of this black expanded polystyrene. There is a 7-inch screen. That screen's running at 1280 by 800. It will do HD in, weighs about 400 grams. Doesn't feel bad on your face at all though, because they have made a lot of effort to make all of this front of it. It kind of looks like the inside of a Cylon Centurion's helmet, but it does fit to your face really nicely. The recesses for the nose, the cheek guards and the forehead all seem to work brilliantly. They do provide foam, we'll look at that in a second if you wanted to pop it on there to make it even comfier. So rather than some of the other goggles that we've tried, these fit nicely on your face and you can easily do a 20-minute flight without feeling that they're going to slide down your nose. Power from this is 6 to 15 volts, so you're really looking at a 2S or a 3S LiPo at the back of it to power it. You get one of those in the kit. So let's actually have a look at the kit and see what else comes with these goggles. You get a box with a charger in. That is for the LiPo battery. Has lots of different adapters, although to be honest, if you've got one of these, you've probably got a charger already. You get this style of battery, which is very similar to the Fat Shark style, where it is that kind of plug at the end, and that just plugs into the back. Again, this is a 2S 1000 milliamp hour LiPo pack. We get all these big foam bits. Now these are the foam bits that go on top of those pieces, the cheek guards and also the bit that goes over your nose as well. And there's nicely a couple of sets of those of different thicknesses, but it does mean that if you're using one and they get a little bit grotty with you sweating over the summer, then you can pop them off and swap them out, so that's a nice addition. You get a couple of different cables. Now this is the really big one, okay, and the way this works is this replaces the one that's already on there. Again, it has multiple little pins. This time, as well as having the power connection, it also has external RCA jacks, so you can plug it into an external receiver and have a play. The other thing that comes in it, believe it or not, is actually another lens. Now, as you can probably tell, this is a Fresnel style lens. This is the one that will actually give you more magnification than the lens that's already installed in this thing. And you can break the clamshell apart. There's a couple of screws in each corner and you can replace it. I haven't tried this yet and I'll show you why in a minute. And then finally, you get your little set of instructions. It's a single page. Just shows you the channels that are in use, how it all comes together, talks about the fact that the 330mm lens comes installed and the 220mm lens has more magnification and produces a larger picture. Blimey. Okay. You do get like a little cloth bag thing to carry it all around in. You do need that because, like I said, this thing is huge and I've struggled to find something else to put it in. So now we've talked about that, let me power up an FPV transmitter and show you what the screen looks like inside, because the screen does look fantastic, but that field of view is absolutely huge. So let me stop the video here, set up a little quad, we'll come back and we'll have a look. So we have our battery just connected to the back. Now interestingly, there's a big chunk of Velcro here at the back, but they don't give you a corresponding bit for the back of the battery, so I've just connected it with a hairband, which we tend to use a lot on here. Also don't know why a lot of these goggles seem to have this GoPro connector style thing at the back. I don't know, so that's so you can film who's laughing at you behind you, but lots of people seem to be putting this on now. So we've got it powered up, we've plugged it in, we have got it onto a channel that we can see the image for. It's actually playing the audio. Now the audio sounds horrible if I put it close to the mic. All that noise is just the noise of the rotor running. But let me show you what the screen looks like. Try and get the nose guard out of the way. I'm not sure if you can see how big that image actually is. It's absolutely huge. This is FPV of me following one of my friend's planes during a little flight, doing some FPV messing about. But as you can see, as I'm kind of having to move it around for you to see everything, and that is part of what I found a little bit of a challenge with these goggles. So let's just talk about that. Let me just unplug the battery so that the sound isn't going, and stop the video transmitter as well. That lens that comes pre-installed gives a massive 72-degree field of view, and the way it feels when I'm using these is, although I can actually focus fine on the screen at the back, and this lens isn't adjustable, so that's a good job. What it feels like to me is, in those times if you've ever been to watch an IMAX movie and you've got there a little bit late, and rather than get up, you know, kind of in the middle or back of the auditorium, you're way down towards the front and you feel like you're a little bit too close to the screen, so consequently you have to move your eyes very far to the left and right to actually see what's going on. That is what it's like in here. Now for flying like we've just looked at, where you're in a plane, you're at quite a bit of height, and you have beautiful views over the countryside, these work really well. If you're going to use them for something like FPV quad racing, or applications where you have an on-screen display where critical information is going to be on the outside of the image, that's going to represent a little bit of a problem, because you're going to have to keep moving your eyes around the screen in order to find out where the battery voltage is, how far you are, how high you are, how much battery you've got left, etc, etc. So be aware of that when you're looking at these, because that for me is a little bit of a problem. The way that I fly means that these aren't exactly my cup of tea. So in summary then, what do I think of them? Well, these are relatively expensive goggles. They're about 190 quid. The antenna that comes with them isn't this one. This is my own little Fat Shark thing. The antenna that comes with them is a really rubbish little dipole thing, which looks like that one, these little whip antennas, which are next to useless. I think for that kind of money I'd have really wanted them to include some kind of aerial. Now we've already been looking at things like the Ionway aerials and antennas. They look a little bit like that. I'll put a link to the video where we did a review of those things. They are absolutely great, and they're really cheap, and it's just so disappointing when you spend all that money and they don't come with a set of those in the kit. I think that would have been a nice addition. In terms of using them, yep, they are very big. You can see here I am wearing them, a couple of little photos, but you know what, if you don't mind having this big thing stuck out the front of your face, then they're actually going to work fine. The other nice thing about this, of course, is because it has that HDMI input, they are going to be handy if you're going to want to run something like a flight simulator and plug it into the HDMI cable. Most little tablets and PCs now have a HDMI out, so if you wanted it to use for gaming or FPV practice, then this would be quite cute for that as well. The volume on these is nice and loud, although with FPV I tend to turn the volume really far down anyway, because all you can hear is the roar of the motors. But if you're doing things like slope soaring or other bits and bobs, you can find that the noise of the air running over the frame as you fly can actually be really useful in knowing exactly how fast you're moving and how the craft is going to perform. So, in summary, these are okay, but they're only okay. That big screen looks fantastic, but the field of view for anything other than nice and high is going to cause a problem, but they're going to work great for games. The HDMI input and the 40-channel receiver seem to work really well and look fantastic. The idea of having multiple cables in there so you can connect and power an external receiver with a nice long lead, so potentially you could even have it on a little tripod, is a really welcome addition too. The challenge here, I think, is just that field of view is just too big, and also at the moment that price point is a little bit high. There are lots of sets of goggles coming out now that have this style of enclosure and these kind of features that are going to be significantly less money. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video. There are lots of other videos on the channel and they're carefully ordered into playlists, so you may find that there are other videos on this same subject that you can go and watch. So I would recommend going into the playlist area of Painless 360 YouTube channel and looking around and seeing what there is. You never know what you might find. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and happy flying.